Hello, I want to spend just a couple of minutes talking about a function. I find it to be really useful. However, there are different ways to do this, but for those of you who are looking to sit for the certification test, you very well could be asked to use the concatenate function. I know in the practice test this appears, I believe in version 3 of the practice test, and when I sat for my certification review, I was definitely asked to use the concatenate function. So if you look at this workbook that I have here for you, I have two different sections, actually multiple different sections, but the two I will be focusing on. Here I have one for joining cells, and then right below that I have concatenate for joining cells. Basically speaking, if you are working with your own workbook, either of these two methods will work. So what I have done with both sections is I've taken the city and the state, and I combined them into one cell. And you can see that if you take out the headings, these two sections look exactly the same. So really the only difference is in the joining the cells, I put an equal sign and then the cell reference, which is A9, an ampersand, and then the second cell. So what it is doing, that ampersand will join the contents of what is in cell A9 with the contents of what comes into cell B9. And that's just a simple join. However, for certification, you could definitely be asked to use a concatenate. So instead of using the ampersand, they are going to ask you to use the very specific function. Although the results are the same, it's more of a test to see if you know how to use this specific function. So if you look in this section, you will see same results. However, when I click in the cell for the first one, I have the equal sign and then the function concatenate followed by a parenthesis, the first cell, which is A14, where I have Connellsville, a comma, and then the second cell, which is B14. So what this is telling Excel to do is to join the contents of cell A14 and cell B14. And like other things, you can use the insert function box if you want. This one's pretty basic, so I usually just type it directly in the cell, select it, and then I would pick my first cell, type in a comma, pick my second cell, and then press enter. What I would like to point out, if you look in this section, you will see three different options. So I have Connellsville, PA with no space. I have Connellsville, PA with a space between the city and the state. And then on my third example, I have Connellsville, comma, space, PA. So when you're using this function, if you are looking to put things between your joined cells. So in this case, here I was looking to put a space to separate the two words. So what I had to do, in addition to the two cells, so here I have equal concatenate, the first cell a comma, and then I had an open quotation mark. Inside of that open quotation mark, you put whatever you want to come between the text of your two cells. So in this case, I have an open quotation mark, I pressed the space bar, and then I closed the quotation mark, a comma, and then the second cell. So that allows Excel to combine those two cells, but to put a space between the contents of each cell. For my last one, basically the same process, with the exception, if you look in my formula bar, I'm just going to expand this real quick. So if you look at this last function, you will see I have concatenate, the first cell, then I have a comma. After the comma, I have my quotation marks, and inside of those quotation marks I need to tell Excel exactly what I want. So in this case, immediately following the opening quotation mark, I have a comma, then I put a space in, and then I closed my quotation marks. Then I have another comma to separate the parts of the function. When you're working with functions in Excel, those commas tell Excel where the different parts are. And then I have the final cell. So this tells Excel at the point that we are going from the content of one cell to the other, that you need to put a comma and a space in. So if I open this up in the insert function box, you will see here sort of broken down exactly the same way. Text 1 would be that first cell that I want to be part of a joined cell. Text 2, or however it would fall. In this case, text 2 is going to be what I want to happen between my cells. In this case, I have the comma and the space. When you are working in this dialog box, you only have to, you don't have to type. So here I can just, I typed the comma, I typed this, or entered the space, and then when I press tab, it automatically put the quotation marks in for me. And then text 3 would be the content of the second cell. So what I have here is the concatenate function, exactly the same function, but it's important if you get those directions on a certification test to look and see how they want it to be. So that way, if there needs to be anything between your joined cells, you're putting that between the commas inside the quotation marks.